This conference will now be recorded.
Someone give me the heads up. All right. We're going to wait a minute. More are coming in. All right. Can someone give me the heads up, the thumbs up that you guys can see and hear me? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Neil. All right, Ernesto. From Mexico, brother. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Always, brother. Thank you. Thanks, Pete. All right, we'll wait another 30 seconds and get this thing going. We got some things to talk about. Even had a little pullback on gold, another opportunity to scoop some up. I put in a buy order. It didn't go down to it, so I didn't pick up any, but silver dropped down to my buy order, and I was able to pick up silver twice today. And then it went up a little too, so I'm hoping that was the probably not the bottom, but pretty close, pretty close. And as we see, Bitcoin, tiny bit of recovery, but you know, that's what you expect. But it's doing what we expected it to do. Larry Fink's not going to make everybody rich. All right. All right, let's pull up some results. Last 7 days, we picked up 6 units. Nothing to brag about, but it's better than losing money, obviously. And with that said, we gave a little back yesterday. I think where we went 1 and 3 or 1 and 4. So not a bad 7 days. And baseball is going to be like that. There's so much volume that there's going to be variance in baseball. When the dust settles, the results always speak for themselves. I say it all the time. Baseball is the one sport. If I could only bet one, it would be that, because it gives you the most opportunity to profit every single year, the most amount of games, the most inefficient betting lines because of it, and the most opportunity to get down. There's money lines you could scalp. There's just so many ways to make money betting baseball. But you got to be vigilant and not pick your spots. Like guys that jump in and buy baseball for a weekend, that's crazy. Or like for a week, that's nuts. Like these guys are playing 150 plus games a year. It's all about the long term. You don't even know if that week the motivation. But let's look at the leaderboard. Number one, what I always look at is last 365 days. Are we still at the top? Do we have room to make up? No, we're still there. Number one over the last 365 days, over 2% ROI on over 3,000 bets. That's statistical significance. And that's the kind of ROI I'm good with. Now, I'd love it to be higher, over 3. You could even get the 5% on a smaller sample size, maybe 1,000 bets. But once you get up to that 2,000, 3,000 bets, the ROI is just not impossible to be that high. But it's the volume that creates all that profit. Just like card counting. I want to see as many hands as possible because I have an edge. Same thing with sports betting. We have an edge. We want to place as many bets as possible. We don't bet for action though, but we're going to seek the most inefficiencies we possibly can. And again, I personally, maybe you guys could find someone on the internet. I don't know anyone that is going to show you their last 3,000 bets And that's just over the last 365 days. So we go back, what do I go back? 9 years of that. So at 3,000 plays, 9 years of plays, I probably got close to 30,000 bets tracked, 30,000 bets, and turned a profit 8 of those 9 years. Again, like if you're doing it for the long term, that's the kind of results you're going to want. And that's the kind of results any sports bettor should be gunning for. Again, unless you're, betting for action. Unfortunately, most novice sports bettors, they don't understand that because they can't see the long term. Most of them are their pocket carries their bankroll, their bills, their savings, their investments, everything's in that front pocket. So for them, it's all about today. They need to win today. They need to win this week. They need to win this month. They need to pay their mortgage with their gambling winnings. They need to pay their bills. Like, that's the wrong way to do it. And that's the exact reason why 99.5% of all sports bettors lose money long term. I'll repeat that, 99.5. So less than 1% of sports bettors in the world actually have positive lifetime earnings where they can prove they are up on the sports books. And we know how many touts sell picks. We know how many influencers put out picks, how many on TV now, on all the major sports channels, giving out picks. How much statistical significance are they willing to show? None. Why? Because they're all losing bettors. I can tell you that factually. They're all negative EV bettors. That's just the facts. And, again, like the 1% isn't creating all the content, unfortunately. So most are learning to lose from other losing bettors. It's just that cycle that repeats, sadly, but that's just the nature of the beast. That's just the business. Fortunately, the internet has allowed more people to come together. And now we do know that there are wise guys out there, betting syndicates, that actually do win and turn a profit long term. Fortunately, we're plugged in and you're getting those same plays. The same shit that I'm moving for the sharpest groups, the same shit that I'm betting for myself and my own capital is the same stuff I'm sending in at Wager Talk, which is why since 2017, I've turned the most profit out of anyone. That's going back now, 7 years. And the site was open for a few years before I even got there. So factor that into the mix. I've turned more profit than anyone at the site and started later. Again, it's not an infomercial for me, but this is so you understand, because I know some of you guys are here because you just jumped on for this week or this month or what have you. And this is just so you understand. The only way that you're going to make money and I won't disappoint you is if our goals are aligned. And my goal is simple. I need to produce profit off my capital every year, or else I need my capital invested elsewhere. So if I'm going to have a bankroll for sports betting, I need to know it's going to turn a profit for me over a year, just like real estate would, just like art would, just like certain other investments. The only reason I'm involved in sports betting is because it is so lucrative if you have an edge, because we are able to make 3,000 bets in a year. And I'm betting 1,000. You guys know I'm not, it's not crazy money, but I bet 1 to 5 dimes. That's 1,000 a unit over 365 days. I'm up over 200 plus units, 220, whatever it is. That's $250,000. So it's worth my time to make $250,000 off a $400,000 bankroll. Very few investments are going to do that. Unfortunately for me, I can't have a $4 million bankroll because I can't get down that much. Or else I would take some money from other investments and bet more because my edge is greater. It's the same thing you run into with blackjack. Yeah, I wish me and my girl could just fly around and do nothing but play 8 hours a day of blackjack. But you'll do that to get away with it for 3-6 months. Once you're known at every spot, once your picture goes around every security place, you're done. You're done. And you end up like me, where you can't even show your ID and shit at most places. So that's the one problem that we're battling, trying to take money from an enterprise that isn't used to winners. And that's why they throw you out. Like, you know, the casino's set up to extract money from bettors, not to, you know, enrich them. The only goal of the casino is to extract as much money as they can from their clientele. So yeah, get your questions in, please. And again, I know there's new people every single day, every single week we do this. So we need to go over the basics before we dive in. That's why I wanted it at 6 o'clock. Don't worry, we will not go long. It's not a big board today. We'll go over it real quickly. But the reason I wanted it is to switch it up. I know people work at different times. They have off at different days. So we need to make sure that everybody gets a chance to ask me questions. All right, we just hit that tennis play, I take it. All right, I'll take it. All right, so remember, the reason we're able to say what we say, and I sound like a jerk off, like I'm bragging, is because we've managed risk correctly. That's the only reason. And how do we manage risk correctly? We bet size correctly. That means we go 0.25, 0.50, 0.75, 1%, and 1.25. Those are the only 5 numbers you need to memorize. That's percentage of bankroll. I will repeat this every meeting we have, every chat, because this is the most important. The picks that I'm going to give don't mean shit, because I could go 5-0 or own 5 today. No one's life should change. But this is life-changing shit. There's 2 pieces to the puzzle to be a winning sports bettor. There's bankroll and there's bet size. This is risk management. This is capital. You could adjust your capital because life changes. You can't adjust your bet size, your risk management. This has to stay constant. So if you're not betting enough, if you're a baller and you need to bet more, then you need to increase this, the capital side, your bankroll. You don't want to increase your bet size over here, your risk, your percentage, because all you're doing is increasing your risk. You don't want to go to 2% of bankroll, 3% of bankroll, 4% of bankroll, 5% of bankroll. That's how you go broke. So let's say hypothetical, $10,000 bankroll. Last year, let's say you started with me January 1st. You had a $10,000 bankroll. You bet exactly the way I said, the way I urged you. Where with a $10,000 bankroll, you bet $25 on a 1% play, $50 on a 2% play, $75 on a 3% play, $100 on a 4% play, and $125 on a 5% play. Remember, the rating that we use at Wager Talk is just the rating. 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. That's not your risk management blueprint. The blueprint for risk management, I told you, it's this part of the puzzle. 0.25, 0.50, 0.75, 1%, 1.25. I keep repeating myself, not because I like my own voice, but so that it sinks in. And I will keep saying that over and over and over, because this part can't change. It's this one. So let's say this is 10 grand. The most you're ever betting on a 5% rating is $125. I get it. It doesn't sound like much, but here's what we did last year. With that 10,000, when the year was over, we increased that bankroll by 80%, $8,000. So maybe you paid me 2 of it, and you still walked away with 6 grand off your 10 grand business. Again, how many investments are going to return over 50% on your capital in 365 days? Not many. This is why I tell you, if I could get down, I would take money that I have in other investments and I would only bet sports, just like I would only play blackjack. Those are my greatest edges. That's the gift that that the one thing that I put in 30 plus years to master. But unfortunately, I need to make my living off of corporations and that just aren't used to allowing guys like me to make a living and people like you. That's why I told you, your job is to get outs, find outs, keep finding books, find outs. If you could find credit shops, those are the best because you don't want to tie up your capital in non-interest bearing accounts. Having 10,000 sitting in the sports book isn't doing you any good. Right now, you can get 4 or 5% on your money if you tie it up for a year. On 10 grand, you're making $500. You're like, yeah, what's $500? Yeah, but it's free money for your money just sitting there. You ain't getting dick off it at the sports book for 10 grand. They are. You're not. So there's a lot of ways to get down. Credit for me is the best. I'm 95% credit now. Because why would I tie up my capital? But the only thing with credit is you have to have discipline, because that's also how I got my biggest jams back in the day. You know what I mean? Like a guy gives me 50,000 credit, but I only have 20,000 in my name. I could get myself in a lot of trouble. So if you're not disciplined, you probably shouldn't be working with credit. You should be a post-up cash guy. But if you have the discipline, credit's the way to go. Credit's the way to go. So again, 0.25, 0.50, 0.75, 1%, 1.25. You won't go broke. Your risk of ruin is as low as possible because we don't want to get ruined. Remember, risk of ruin. If you up this, your risk of ruin increases. Why would you ever do that? Just put that phrase in your mind, risk of ruin. When you increase this, your risk of ruin increases. So you're increasing the probabilities that you're going to ruin yourself by misbetting this. So if 125 bucks ain't enough, bring 20,000 to the party and you'll bet 250 on a 5%er. Bring 40,000 to the party. Bring 50,000 to the party. Like I said, I'm here every day. Fly out here with money, I'll bet. I have no problem firing and taking a shot. But if you want to do this for real and treat it like a business so it pays like a business, that's how you're going to have to do it. It's the only way. I'm just telling you now. Or else you're wasting your time and you're going to waste mine because you're going to blame me for you losing money. And it's not my fault because I'm not going to lose money. I'm up. I'm up this year already. I won last year. I'm going to win again this year. When December 31st comes around, I'm going to be up. I'm very sure of that. Now, I can't guarantee that, but because past history isn't a guarantee for the future, but it sure as hell gives you a good idea of what's coming. Like if you're a fuck up the last 5 years, you're probably going to be a fuck up next year. It's not like all of a sudden shit's going to change. Just like if you're a decent person over the last 5 years, probability is you're probably going to be a decent person next year. It's the same thing with money. If you're irresponsible over the last 5 years, well, you're going to get responsible today. Hopefully you do. But that's why always zoom out. Always zoom out. That tells the whole picture. So let me get to some of these questions, and then we'll go over today's board real quick, and I'll get you guys out of here. And you know the game plan. Just bet the baseball every day. When the dust settles, we'll be up. I'm sitting number 3 right now, and I'm pissed. I want to be number 1 in baseball. That's a sport I dominate. Fortunately for me, well, I'm only a month in. It's May 2nd. Baseball started in what, April? We're good. We're golden. We're golden. So all you got to do is just follow the blueprint. Believe me, it took me blood, sweat, and tears for the blueprint. I lost more money than this room combined. That's why I say I have an Ivy League education when it comes to sports betting, because I paid for it. I paid for it. So you don't have to. All right. Yeah, it's ridiculous. The parlay marketing is ridiculous, Em. That's exactly what they do. Why do you think listen? Just from the amount of followers, let alone the influence I have in the industry, I get asked all the time by different sports books to do those videos and shit. The one thing I won't do is the parlay ones. There's no chance. I'll never urge bettors to do that shit unless I'm able to tell them this is negative EV and you're gambling. You're playing the lottery. Let's have some fun. But if you want me to go out there and do a fucking bullshit ad and like they're showing on TV of dudes winning all this money off parlays and showing those tickets on fucking social media of how $10 won 150 grand. You know how many of those $10 they fucking brought in before they paid that 150 grand? Probably about 1.5 million. Probably higher than that. They don't pay out 10%. Higher than that. Believe me. So it is. It's sick. But that's where the money is. Because here's the math. These casinos are corporations. Many of them are publicly traded companies. You could buy stock in the Wynn. You could buy stock in Sands Corporation. You could buy stock in MGM, in Caesars, all of those. So they have to show their balance sheet just like everybody else every quarter. They have to show us their earnings just like everybody else. Well, if you look at their earnings, which I've done multiple times, here's what you're going to see. Their biggest money maker is penny slots. No surprise. Why? Because people, the poorest among us are who gambles the most. That's like rich people don't play the lottery. Poor people do. That's why you don't see no lottery stands in nice neighborhoods. They're always in the inner cities, in those delis and shit like that. That's who plays them. It's not a knock. That's just how it is. They have the dream of putting up a little to win a lot. And that's exactly what happens with the parlay shit. They want to push that because that's the greatest hold. So penny slots are the biggest moneymaker for the casino because most times too, people are playing more than they know. They're playing $2, $3, $5 to spin because they're playing 200, 500 freaking pennies. That shit adds up. But more importantly, let's talk sportsbook. They hold about between 7%, 5 and 8%. What does that mean? That means that if every $100 that gets bet, they expect to make between $5 and $8 off of straight bets, which is good because the hold's only 4.5%. So they should only make 4.5%. But the fact they make almost double that is because they're able to shade against biases. People take bad numbers and their hold increases. The edge gets greater on the casino side, not the player side. Well, guess what it is with parlays? That same hold. It's upwards of 30, 40%. Yeah. So out of every $100 you bet on a parlay, they expect to make $30 to $40 off that long term. Yeah. Off a straight bet, they expect to make $5, $6, $7. On a parlay, they expect to make $35, $38, $40. Why do you think they keep pushing these parlays? Same game parlays, same game parlay, same game parlay, same game parlay, 10-team parlay, 15-team parlay. Of course, the hold's 30, 40%. It's the same reason when you go to the freaking nice restaurant, they're trying to get you to buy water because they're going to be able to charge $12 on your bill. They get you to want alcohol because it's going to bring up the bill. Higher the bill, the higher the tip. Right? If you ain't buying that shit on the bill, the tip ain't going to be high. It's the same shit. Hold on one sec. All right. All right. All right. Well, another question here. Hold on. I have Bucks +8, unsure in injury situation. I'm thinking of buying off and taking Pacers -6. And who knows, maybe hit that middle. Not a bad bet. Let me see if I like anything in that one. I didn't like anything early, I'll tell you that. Let me tell you if I had gun to my head who I'd be betting. Bucks Pacers right now. Give me a minute. Yeah, let me pull up the latest shit. And don't worry, we're only going to go another 15, 20 minutes. Honestly, if I had to bet this game, I would go under. That's it. I would go under. So yeah, I'd probably play the middle. I'd probably work that middle. Because the only thing I could possibly bet is the under in that one. At 217.5. Yeah. And the market's going against me. Because I mean it opened what? 215. And I know some sharp money came in at under like 217 earlier in the day. It pushed it down like 213 or some shit. From 215 down to 212, excuse me, and then back up. But I like the under if I have to bet it. And then Philly Knicks. Anything there? No, I'd be guessing. The market doesn't tell me anything. I'd be guessing. You're better off making your own guess there. Is the NHL, Boston, Toronto. Let me look at that real quick. Because I think I did like something there. Yeah. Let me see. I think I like the over a little bit. I like the over a little bit. Not enough for a bet though. And I didn't get any signals to confirm. But that was my lean. My lean was over 5.5, over 5.5. But again, I would have needed some kind of confirmation. A little nudge. Right. Can you wear disguise in blackjack? Yes. The problem is that you need fake ID. Because when you go to cash out, you're going to be at like, unless you're playing real small limits, that's a different story. But in high limit, you're going to get asked for ID for sure. Even if you go to the cage to cash out, they'll check to ask where you played. They'll call the high limit pit, make sure you played there when you go to the cage with chips from, the table to the cage. That's the problem. Guys have wore disguises, of course. There's so many books and stories on that. Just look at Ken Houston. Google Ken Houston. He was the master of the disguises with that. Because he was just so well known back then. And surveillance wasn't as, now they got facial recognition. The computers are all set up. Like, you're in the system. Back then, there wasn't no system. Shit was written on a card. Like, sending pictures, I didn't even know how you did it back then. Now it's like shit. You just scan it, email it, whatever. It's so different. And that's why, like, once I got caught, that was it. Like, I knew once I got caught from a big property, I'm caught everywhere. Like, once you're in the system, you're in the system. So disguises doesn't really cut it like it did back in the day. The best cover now, honestly, is me not playing and standing behind. That's it. Like letting someone else play. The best is letting my girl play. That's the best. I told you guys that multiple times. That's been my best cover, our best for sure. We haven't had one problem. Just once in Tampa to cash us out because we played at night and in the morning ship hadn't seen us and we were trying to cash out like $5,000 chips or 10 dime chips, whatever they were. And you can't just walk up to the cage with two $10,000 chips. They're going to say, okay, where'd you get them? We could have just jumped someone in the parking lot. So they want to know where you played, and they call that pit and see where you played. But I was like, we played last night. So they actually made us wait. I missed my plane. I got her on a plane, and she had to get home. But I was like, I'll stay, fuck it, to get the money. And I actually missed my flight and had to stay another day because they had to go back, watch the surveillance, and see that I played the night before and watch the exchange of cash and all that shit. Yeah. Otherwise, we've had no problem at all over Vegas and anywhere we've gone to play. We've had no issues at all. Good question. How often do you recount your bankroll to determine what percentage? Do I include futures? Yeah, futures are just different bets. It's just diversifying is how I look at it. Because I factor them into the whole 100% that we have to work with. I only adjust personally at the end of the year. I don't adjust anymore. I'm not even, to be honest with you, I don't adjust anymore. When I work with the same 400K bankroll, I bet 1,000 to 5,000, and then I have some behind it in case I ever do hit that ruin. Because my risk of ruin is like 1 in 100. So I'm going to double my bankroll 99 times. I'm going to lose it 1 time. So that 1 time I do lose my bankroll, I want to make sure I have the next bankroll to go in. And since I've doubled it so many times, it doesn't even matter. What I was doing then is every year. When I went back and did the math, I saw that I could have got there faster if I would have adjusted every time I went up 50% to 100%. Like during the season, if I increased the bankroll by 100%, I should have started betting differently. I should have added that into the overall bankroll. And then I saw that even with 50%. So let's say you start at 10,000 and we're get to September and you're at 15. You could start betting that as a $15,000 bankroll, not a $10,000 bankroll anymore. Where now your 1% is, whatever that is, 150 bucks. Or I don't even know. I'm doing just an arbitrary number. It's been a long day. Baseball opinion, no run first inning. Love it. Love it. Love it. Those props, the problem with props is getting down, the amount of money to get down. That's why a lot of the betting syndicates don't mess with them. I used to when I was working with that prop shop guys, because what they were doing was they were betting the steam, but using no run first inning or run first inning. Meaning if based on what the total was, if they knew it was steam to go over, they'd bet run first inning. If they steam to go under, they'd bet no run first inning. So somewhere they found an edge in that because they were crushing it with that by simply picking off the strongest steam and using the no run first innings. These guys were cashing fucking 15 minutes into the game. They didn't have to watch 9 innings like I did. 15 minutes later, they were freaking cashing. All right, great question. It's been a while since you've spoken about this. Can you talk about sportsbook selection? Our job is to acquire outs. I remember in the past you talked about sharp books versus square books. It seems like the offshore books don't jack up their prices, minus 120, 125, as much as domestic books like FanDuel. What should we be looking for in selecting sportsbook? Great question. The only thing you should be looking for, 2 things: good pay and variety. Meaning you're putting up good money. Your intentions are to pay. If you lose, you want to make sure you get paid when you win. That's above all else. The best way to do that is the most reputable sports books. Obviously, if you're going offshore, they have so much to lose. They're going to pay you. And the big corporations, obviously. Variety is how many different ones can you acquire. The problem with the legal outs is you have to post up money. And, how much of your bankroll can you chop up in different sports books? That's where that problem comes in. That's why I urge as much credit shops as you possibly can get your hands on, because those are gold. Those are gold. As long as the first part is met of the equation, that they're good pay, because they're the bookies that I deal with, the illegal ones. They're the ones that, after I win, could say, go fuck yourself. So you got to make sure you're dealing with people that aren't going to say that. and they're actually going to pay you. So that's number one and number two. Those are most important. Now, as far as the odds, it don't matter because you're not going to take bad numbers. So they could be charging 20-cent vig, 30-cent vig, 40-cent vig. Who gives a shit? You're only going to look for good numbers. If taking it at the one that uses bad, I have one book that has the worst juice, the worst vig you could possibly imagine. They do like minus 120 on each side. But sometimes they have the best number. So if it has the best number, I don't give a shit what their hold is. I'm not using them like that. Like if I'm looking for +4, they're the only one that has a +4. Now I'm not going to lay 120 there, obviously. But let's say in baseball, their spread is +110, -150. I may be looking to lay -140, -150. I'll lay the favorite with them. I'm not taking the dog, so I don't give a shit. Or if I'm just looking for +110 and want the dog, I don't care how big the spread is on their favorite. So variety is key. Good pay is most important above all. You don't do this for your health. You do this for money. Like I'm not doing this for fun. There's a lot funner shit I could be doing. This isn't it. So believe me when I tell you, you want to make sure they're going to pay you when you win because we're going to win. That's been proven. And number two, you want variety. Variety, variety, variety. The more numbers you get to look at, the higher chance you have of getting the best numbers. That's what I found. The more outs I have, the better numbers I always get. It just comes down to work. I'm working through 4 offshore books. If I cannot get down your vig, should I pass the bet? Yeah, if it's off by a lot, I wouldn't. Well, we give enough volume that you don't have to take the worst of it. I mean, if it's a 5 cents off, I leave myself leeway with the groups that I work with, because even when they send it, I'll give you an example. On the instant message that came through. Oh, we took they sent me Boston first half, and they were like, wait, where was that? No, because I remember they sent that one different. Yes, here it is. They sent Boston first 5. What's it called? -112 average, okay, up to -118. So in other words, there's 112s out there. They want an average of the worst 118. So if I could get down at 112, that means I could also get down at 120 something. And as long as I could get them an average of 118, they're happy. So you're going to have some leeway, but you don't want to be, if these guys are like, get me -120, I'm not going to lay -140 for myself because that edge is gone. Just look at what an implied win, you can just Google and see implied win probability. If it changes by a high percentage, you never want to take it. But if the implied win probability changes by 1%, your edge shouldn't be gone. By 2%, shouldn't be gone. Now start moving up the ladder. Of course, you don't want to take the worst of it, but you want to give yourself a little bit of leeway with the vig. All right, here's a question. If accumulated free credit from a sports book, some books offer credit for every dollar wagered. Would you add it to your bankroll or try to use it on futures like we have with the Timberwolves? Try to max out the free credit as much as possible without losing nothing. More beneficial long term. That's a good question. I think I would use it if I possible to add it to my bankroll, because then I think you have the chance of compounding it the most. Instead of just, if you can do that, instead of just looking for an individual bet, I think I would just add it to the bankroll, and it's almost like you're spreading it out. Like if it's only adding $100, it's still, now you're adding an extra penny to each one, but it's adding, it's compounding. I believe if I'm reading it right, that's what I would choose over looking to zero in on like a future and tying it up because your money's going to be tied up for 6 months, 8 months, and not tying up your bankroll, tying up your bonus or your credit. That's not a bad idea either. That's not a bad idea to do, but it's just futures we don't get that many of them only because the hold is high. Like on those futures, Ernesto, like to win the Super Bowl, to win the World Series, the hold is very high, upwards of 40%. So we're very, very selective. Now, betting series are different, like this team to win the series, but to win the championship, those are tough. Those are tough. And that's why we don't even, and I love what you say, I'm not trying to gamble, just trying to see what's more beneficial long term. That's the way to look at it. And I think doing it on a future, just considering it as free money, but because the hold is high, would be more of a gamble than adding it to the bankroll and compounding it, if that makes sense. Okay, if you're using a VPN, is it hard getting paid living in the US when you're telling them you're in Canada or whatever? Here's what I'm going to tell you, my experience using the VPN and the book I use in Canada, I have an agent. I give him 10% free roll to guarantee my money. He's Canadian. He gets me the Pinnacle account and a Pinnacle skin, and I settle with him with crypto, actually. Like, we don't even do cash. We have a figure, like let's say 20,000, and when I'm up 20, he sends 20 in crypto. When I'm down 20, I got to send 20 in crypto. So I don't deal with the sports book to get paid. I deal with the agent. I deal with the sports book to place the bets, and the VPN works like beautifully. I mean, if I just turn it in now, you'll see. I'll make you laugh real quick, so you'll see. I'm pulling up my VPN. You're going to see where it is right away. It's on Toronto, right? Canada, Toronto, because that's where I'm going. I'm using Pinnacle. You know, I'm firing on Pinnacle, but a lot of times they'll tell me go off screen and I can't use Pinnacle. Other times they'll tell me go on screen and we're setting shit up because people are copying Pinnacle. So it's the game. It's the game. But that's what the VPN. I don't know about getting paid. Like I said, I have a Canadian citizen who lives there who guarantees me my money for 10%. And to me, to sleep comfortably, it's worth it. It's been worth it. Oh, the first run on, just rewind, the first no run first inning. I'd say it's a great bet. It's just not a lot of syndicates get down because the limits aren't very high. And betting props is the fastest way to get dumped from credit shops because they don't get enough action on the other sides. But the group that I was working with that was crushing props, they were killing the no run first inning or yes run first inning because they were just picking off the biggest steam totals and not betting the total because they were missing the line move. You know, they were moving from a 9 to an under 9 to 8.5. The value's gone. You can't go under 8.5 if the move's under 9. So he would go no run first inning, and boom, they made a lot of money doing that. They were very, very selective, but they did a lot of money doing that. Thank you, Ernesto. I'm glad I answered it. Hey, I just think that's the best way. That's the best way. Anytime you could increase your bankroll long term, you're going to compound it the most. You're going to compound it the most. And like I said, we haven't busted the floodgates open yet. Like to get over that 100 mark, 150, 200 unit mark. Like the floodgates are coming. We've just been settling more or less. I'm even going to look. We didn't even go over that. What are we up for the year? I did over the last 365. You guys, we need to know this year, right? That's what matters too. The past is the past. Don't do shit for us. Okay, 28.88. So about 29 units. I will tip the waitress one of them. Let's go 28 units. 28 times 25. All right, up $700 off that 10 grand. And it's like, okay, that's saying shit, $700. But in reality, that is 7%. That's, you can't get that on locking up your money for a year. On a CD, you can't get 7%. Again, that's not what we're aiming for because you have to pay me for the information. I get it. There's overhead with the internet. and all that. I get it. I'm not bragging about that. What I'm saying is it's better than being down. Being up is okay. I could live with that. Being down, you don't sleep as well. And that gives you something to jump off and build. Remember, this is when we started last year. It's weird, except we had to come out of a hole. I remember the beginning started rough. I think the first month started good, and then it got rough. It got rough before we turned it around. So you can't time it. You can't time it. It's time in the market, not timing it. You can't time when I'm going to get hot or when these groups are going to get hot. It's time in it. Keep your money in the market long enough. The market's going to reward you for your patience. That's it. Markets are designed to extract money from impatient people and deposit it into the accounts of the patient. It's the same with day trading, swing trading, same shit, same shit. So let's go over to games real quick, and then we can wrap this up. We only have 3 baseball plays. It was Boston first 5, obviously. We bet that twice. And we went under Cleveland, Houston for a 4% play. We hit our tennis play, as I found out, our 3% play. So that's all we have is the baseball. Oh, Boston lost. Okay, so we already know that. So we are down with only Houston, Cleveland to go. So if Houston and Cleveland win, I guess we're around that break-even mark. Okay, so we need Cleveland, Houston to stay under to break even, or I think squeeze a little bit of profit, lose. It's just that day. Real quickly, let me go over some UFC. I know you guys always want that, so let me go over that before I get you guys out of here. And if you have any last questions, write them down. I got to actually go turn in a rental. I had to get an SUV to move some shit, so the timing is perfect. Damn, I feel sick, man. I'm feeling starting to get real fluish and shit. Fuck. I wasn't feeling so bad this morning. I think the air conditioning made it worse. I told I couldn't get it freaking warm in here, so I turned it off. It was like 7 there, it's right there. And there's one in the room too. There's that AC's right there, baby. Then there's one in the room. There's one, that one's off if you're warm. Turn it on. Because I was just pissed. It was so cold in here. Okay. All right, let's go in. Let me finish. It's okay. It's okay. Who loves you? Let's go MMA. Let's go. All right. Here's what we got from the top. You know, I like Usyk as the dog. I already gave him out. I also like the over. You know, I like Martinez over Aldo. I think Petrino beat Smith, but the price isn't worth it. Behead price is way too high as well, but that he has got some power. Remember, I think he was he's moving down in weight. Kid's got some bang in him. Ohio's going to beat Craig. Craig's going to be on his back trying to get the submission. He's done it before and ruined a lot of parlays, but this kid from the, you know, the nerds, the fight nerds, these guys, don't fuck with them. I don't think he's going to get caught in a submission. I think he's a little bit too smart for that. Brito, sure. I think it's a toss-up. Let it go. The same with Lucindo Kolakevich. Nothing there. Brenner, oral buy. Well, the side is oral buy there. Oral buy. Let me just make sure. Where did it go? Yeah, oral buy. I know it's chalky. But oral buy is the side. We may even be betting it. Gomez, I'll tell you this. I actually lean Silva. Gomez got steamed multiple times. And I actually moved it for one of the MMA groups that I bet for. Actually, on UFC on the Line, the show that we did, we taped it a week prior. So a week before it actually was shown. And I actually like Gene Silva. I didn't like that coming off that last fight, the hype, but I thought the price was too low. But I can tell you with certainty, very respected money is on Gomez and bet it multiple times. Close, Silva, close is way too high. Same with Malarkey, Ruffy. Ruffy should get it done, but just it's not one of those great cards for a lot of betting value. Barbosa, I like Barbosa, but he's very chalky. Bonfim, a Bonfim brother, you got to bet them early or leave it alone. And you saw opens minus 400 up to 550. You can barely even scalp those guys because of the VIG once you get over minus 400. So, and then Kostas and Borjas, what did I see there? I like Borjas there. I like the dog. I think it's live. I don't like it much. I don't love this card. I gave those 3 plays. We may have another play or 2, but I don't love it. I'm not going to force. I told you, I don't need to sell picks. I don't need to sell packages. Thank God. I thank God. I'm grateful every day that I don't have to. I'm not to sell packages. So I'm not going to put out stuff just because it's there. Like right now in I'm number 1 in MMA this year, up 76 units. I have a 25% ROI, 62% on my bets. I've given out 96 bets, and I have a 25% ROI. I should be selling a UFC package every fucking Saturday. And every Saturday, I should have a 5% play in the UFC. You know how many packages I'd sell? But if I don't have it, I'm not going to do it, bro. I'm not going to do it. What's more important to me, number 1 over the last 365, number 1 over the last 8 years, that's more important to me than selling this Saturday night. I'm consistent. If our goals aligned, I'll produce for you and I won't disappoint you. If our goals not aligned, I will disappoint you. So yeah, that's pretty much it for MMA. Yeah, the Sixers was a sharp play. BMC bet them. I didn't have an opinion on that game. I mean, if I had to, again, that's a gun to head. I'd take the favorite at home in this one. I just didn't get any info or anything like that. Nothing to make me jump out and want to bet it. But yeah, if I had to, it'd be Sixers or pass. Sixers or pass. First thoughts on McGregor Chandler. Honestly, I haven't even looked into that fight. There's going to be so many factors to consider. It'll be difficult to quantify. So it's not one of those where I'm just going to look at a power rating because of the time off and the age for both these guys. Like, how much stock can I put in the data when it's that old, especially on the McGregor side? That's the problem. Does Poirier have a shot? Yeah, because he's so tough and he'll probably be undervalued in that spot because of the history and recency bias. But man, it's just such a tough out. You know how big of a fan I am. Thank you, Will. I really appreciate that, man. I do. Thank you. Unfortunately, yeah, Mom's Duke's not doing real well. She's at that age where, it's just one problem more or less after another, but it is, what can you do? Pray for good health. Without it, nothing else matters. All right. So let me just check one more time if anything else came in. Otherwise, we could get out of here. And then again, here's what we got to do. Seriously, bet the baseball. The baseball's going to win. Continue to bet the MMA. The MMA is going to win. Just bet size correctly. Like, we've had some bad luck as well, and we're still ahead. Like, that evens out. That always evens out long term. That's why I don't bitch too much about bad beats, because I know I get just as lucky sometimes. That's why you're never as bad as you look or as good as you look, because sometimes it's a product of bad luck. Sometimes it's a product of good luck. But, as long as we're better than most and able to profit, I'm happy. Take what the market gives me. I don't get too greedy. I do not see anything else. I can't believe it. So how do I compare futures to parlays? Just the hold. The hold is high. I mean, they're completely different bets. With future, you just got to hit one. With parlays, you got to hit multiple bets. And, with parlays, I think it's even a worse bet because you have to place them at the same property at the same time. And you already know going in that you're not going to be able to get the most efficient line at the same property at the same time, let alone, that they're paying bad odds on it. You know what I mean? The true odds on a 3-teamer is at 6-1, but they pay you 6-1, kind of like the roulette wheel. So that's where I think, futures are the better bet, but they're still a bad bet as far as the hold goes. Like, you got to be very, very selective. And to find plus EV futures, like, there's pools where it's possible, but again, you see how few of those we bet. And that's the reason why. It's like, once you know that, it's like when I went talking about last week, I went to WinStar. Once I saw that I have to pay Annie, and already I'm giving up 1% and 2% if you bet more, it's done. It's done. It's no longer a beatable game. Like, why would I even want to challenge that? Like, if I know that the straight bet is only 4.5% hold, why would I want to place a bet in a market that's a 40% hold? Like, I should be running away from it unless I find that one gem that's there, that's rare. They make that mistake because of the bias or too much risk on one side or something like that, which is very rare. So that's why I tell you guys, man, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Stay away from all those exotics. Those are aimed at the most recreational bettors. Those are aimed at the most recreational. That's why, just like the blackjack tables, where do you see continual shuffle machines? At the lowest limits. Who's playing at the lowest limits? The least sophisticated blackjack players. That's why they're aiming it at them. I'm not going to sit at a continuous shuffle machine. Are you fucking crazy? You couldn't pay me to play that game. That's the difference. And if you're in this room, you're at the point where you already know what parlays are. You already know the hold on futures. So we don't fuck with them. They're for the squares. Let them have fun with those. Hear them in. When you see on social media somebody hit a big one, I'm happy for them. God bless them. Hopefully they never bet again, and they could be in that 0.5% that actually is up money betting sports. But that's about it. Mark, any thoughts on the Derby? Nah. I mean, if I'll look at it, if something jumps out, but I don't like wasting units. It's not like they're all $1 million horses. Like that. Even there's so few people in the world that make money betting horses because the hold is so high. Like, there's a very minute group that makes money betting horses on the planet. None of them are making it on the big races. Like, they're not making it on the Derby, on the Breeders' Cup, on any of those. Those are, once again, aimed at guys like me with horses, where I could go and bet it with my girl, have fun, because I'm there to gamble. But if you're like doing it to make money, the Kentucky Derby is not the race to do it, because there's just the randomness of it. Again, I won't bleed units. I'll tweet out what I'm going to bet if I bet something, but I will not bleed units. I used to do that back in the day. No more. I told you. Those days are done. Those days are over. I do this for one reason only, to make money, and anyone that wants to follow along so they make money. And for that to happen, I eliminate all the negative EV shit. It makes it more boring for action guys, and I would sell a lot more if I push that shit, but I'd rather have the people that actually want to win than the people that just need action. Like, the Indianapolis 500 Saturday. Who are we going to bet? Because it's the Indy 500. Dude, I don't bet it all year. Why am I going to, like, I don't bet that all year. Why would I bet it on that Sunday? And again, and that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking it, Mark. And like, I don't bet horses every day. So why would I take the Derby seriously? Like, I'm going to go bet $50 puck trifecta and see if I make a score. But if you follow me, you're crazy. Like, you know just as much about those horses as I do. You know, just as reading, you could read that, the racing form as good as I can. Like, you don't hear me about beating horses. I've never said that once, that I beat horses, that I'm a, winning horse better. So, like, that's why I don't have thoughts about the Derby, except that day. I'll look at it the day before for fun and know that I'm gambling. Kind of like when I go downstairs to eat, my girl likes to play mega bucks, play some slots. I actually don't, but I don't mind. I'll throw something in a mega buck machine to take a shot, but I know I'm gambling. Like, that's why I try to explain to her, you're gambling. Like this, we don't have an edge. Don't worry about it. Like, any money we lose, don't worry about it. When you hit, it's going to be great. But when you do hit, we're going to have given it 5 times more than you're going to get back. And she actually got hand paid. Like, she hit a jackpot and got hand paid. Like, so, like, again, but those things are gambles. And that's how I feel with even like some of the big tournaments of different sports that they have that I'm not betting every day. So yeah, I urge you guys to do the same. Like, if you're going to bet the Kentucky Derby, I urge you to do it from a bankroll that's not your bankroll that you're using that we're doing this. Hell no. Hell no. That needs to be your entertainment bankroll. That needs to be the money that you use for entertainment that week. Don't do it from this. That's like I tell you guys, if it's a Monday Night Football game and I'm not betting it and you don't love it, but you want some action because you're going to hang out with friends, you're going to eat, dude, I don't blame you. You should have some action. But do it, know what you're doing. Know that you're gambling, you're having fun, and then do not at all interfere with what we're doing. If you could separate the two, you'll really do well in life. You'll get to where I got 10 times faster. I was not able to separate the two until not all that long ago. And that's why I tell you guys, please understand. Thank you, Mark. That's why I promise you, I never saying it to call anyone out. And I appreciate the questions because someone else probably has them. There's no such thing as a dumb question. There's just fear of asking it because other people probably have it. And I promise you, my biggest takeaway from this, I want you to know, is I'm trying to help you not make the mistakes I made. That's my biggest goal. My biggest goal is to make sure to repeat all the mistakes I made, knowing that this is what's going to slow you down. This is what's going to fuck you up. This is what's going to cost you. Like, don't do this. I promise you, I did it. Nothing good came of it. Nothing good came of it. The only good that changed my life was when I started doing it the right way. When I treated it like a business, it paid me like a business. When I treated it like a gambler and entertainment, it cost me like it every single time. So please, please, please separate the two. Know what you're getting into, know what you're doing. You're investing here. You have a bankroll, a capital that you're willing to invest for 365 days to see how much you can make off this market, the sports bet market. That's how I want people to approach this. And that's why I don't have 5,000 people in this room right now, because there's not, even though everybody says they want to win, believe me, they don't. They don't. I was at WinStar. I saw people that do not want to win. They think they want to win, but dude, you're not playing something that you could win. How the fuck can you tell me you want to win? You don't want to win, you want to get lucky. So phrase it right. You don't want to win, you want to get lucky. They're two completely different things. I'm not looking to win. I'm not trying to win. I'm not trying to get lucky. I want to win. I bet to win. I'm not trying to get lucky at all. I don't need luck. Fuck luck. You could keep your luck. I don't need it. I don't need it. Give it to someone else. Give it to someone else. I don't need it. That when it comes to gambling, that's the one thing I get it away from me. I don't need good or bad luck. I don't need good luck. I don't need none of that luck shit. Just let me use my edge. In blackjack, I could count the shit out of fucking as many decks as there are. And in sports, I have a network that gets better information and is able to beat the sports books. That's it. And so that's what we stick to. That's what we stick to. Stay in our lane, stay in our lane. What are some good resources, websites to track money movement or lines? Money movement, you're not gonna. Nobody's showing that stuff. They're showing you bet percentages, which means absolutely nothing. Which, I mean, people are interested in that. I don't know why, but they are. But as far as like for lines, dude, wagertalk.com. Their line service the shit. You got the history all the way from the opener to where it is right now to where it closes for every single sports book that they have on there. I use them. I could be paying $500 a month. Instead, I use WagerTalk shit, especially the one that they have in beta testing. Forget about it. That's the spot. What's the best way to interpret what? Betting percentages? I don't know how. Like, what do they just tell you? Like, I don't even know if they're real, number one. The WagerTalk table, I don't understand. How do you interpret it? They're just the betting lines. It's the odds, the betting odds. I don't look at the percentages, if that's what you're asking. I don't care about the percentages. I don't care what the public's on. I don't get 11 to 10. So it could say 99% of the public's on a team, and if I think that's where the edge is, I'm betting it too. I don't give a shit what the public's on. It doesn't make a difference to me. I know because I booked long enough to know that the public wins 50% of the time, loses 50% of the time. Like everybody else. Like you can't fade the public and make money. The reason the book does is because they get 11 to 10. You see that they show it to us every quarter when they show us their books. Their hold is right around what it is. They're 11 to 10. Without that 11 to 10, they're not making money. The book's not making anything. So believe me, those percentages are not. They're exactly so you go and look at them. That's all they're for. They're great because those pages, I can promise you, get the most views. The most views. And then I see on Twitter everybody talking about, oh, it's 80% on this team. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Like, because here's why. 8 people could walk up and bet $10 on team A, and I could walk up and bet 5,000 on team B, and there's still 80% of the money's on team. 80% of the tickets are on team A. It means nothing. The book needs team A, even though 80%'s on it. Why? Because they got $5,000 risk on one side and $80 risk on the other. So that's why I'm telling you, the percentages are not going to help you find any kind of winners at all. Zero. You'll deceive yourself into thinking you found a system, but track 1,000 bets, and I promise you, there will be no edge there based on, like, I'm only going to bet the ones that 75% of the public's on that side. Like, you don't think that's been done before? Someone hasn't tried that? Like, or I'm only going to fade the 90%ers. I'm just going to wait when it's 90% of the public's on team A, I'm going to bet team B. Like, trust me, that's been tried. The way the books make money is 11 to 10. 11 to 10, 11 to 10. That's it. That's it. And now even higher hold, even more. They're charging minus 115 at some places. So trust me, don't even waste your time with that kind of shit. Like, don't even, it doesn't matter. Don't matter what the public's on, what the percentages show. Because again, the percentages aren't telling you, well, I don't even know what I think they're supposed to show number of bets, right? Percentage of bets, tickets. Like, yeah, that again, 9 people bet $10. I bet 500. 90% of the tickets are on one side, but Doesn't matter. The money's on the other side. That's why they don't show money. And anyone that does, you really going to believe those figures? I could just create a code, a program that's going to change the numbers. However, it'll just keep showing bets. Believe me, no one's going to show that and they'll even tell you that's proprietary information. That means you can't get your hands on it. That's mine. That's what they're telling you. So trust me. All anything that they're pushing isn't helping anyone get an edge. Most of that free data is not giving anyone an edge. Unless you could come up with a stat that we don't know, that we're not reading off the internet, that's the only way you're going to get an edge. But if you're looking at like yards per play, that's already been factored into the price. The book knows that too. If you're looking at, runs per game, they know that too. Like that's not some proprietary that no one knows. But if you could come up with a stat that no one else knows, like that actually produces an edge, that's how you crush the books. Like something with any kind of, a data point. When I'm looking at Wager Talk table, what signs are you looking for? What conclusions are you drawing? I'm just looking at the line moves. I don't bet like that. I'm not trying to pick winners off the screen. Like, that's why I don't have the screen up all day. Like I look to see what the lines are. I look to see where it opened, where it's at. And each one is different conclusions. Sometimes is it an injury? Is it weather? Is it money that moved it? Is it steam that moved it? Is it public money that moved it? So like all those things are just factors that you're not going to be able to conclude by looking at an odds screen. That's going to come from having all the other pieces of information. For me, I look at the back end of sports books, which fortunately I know a lot of bookmakers that give me that back end. So I actually do see where the money is. I get real steam plays. So I see are they getting respect from the lines off the odds service? But I'm not looking for like, oh, if this does this, I'm going to do that. If this does this, I'm going to do that. Like, it's just not really, I don't know. I guess you could place bets off just line moves, but then you're always behind. You're not ahead. So I think that would be the problem there. Like if you know what I mean? Because then you're not getting, like the key is to get ahead of the move, not be behind the move. Sometimes we're behind the move and it's still a lot advantageous, but yeah, that's the thing. Again, man, like you want to know that the odds service, the best thing for it is to know what book has the number I'm looking for. To be honest with you, that's the thing I do have, why I have it up all day. I'm not looking at it all day, but I have it up on my browser all day because when a play comes in, I need to look at that screen and see which book has the number I'm looking for. So that's where it's the most advantageous for me, but not for handicapping. Unless, like I said, I to follow how the line moved and try to conclude in my own head with all the other factors, why it moved that way, and can I gain an advantage from it now? So that's about it. I'll check one last time if anything came in, and that we are good to go. All right. No. We are good to go. That's going to do it for this week. Again, I want to thank you guys. I appreciate you. Great questions. Great fucking questions. Other guys have them too. That's why. Never be shy. Please. Thank you, Em. Thank you so much. Thank all you guys. Thank you, Mark, Ernesto. God bless you and your family. Everyone out there. Thank you so much, Neil. Always a pleasure, and wish you guys the best. God bless you and yours. Let's see if we could add some profit this week and keep going in the right direction. Thanks, JB. Will, you the man. We start the trajectory like this. We get there. Trust me. They can't run. They can run. They can't hide is what it is. We're going to get our money like we do every year. Please stay the course. Please. So when December comes and we're bragging, you could party with us. Just think, the ones that were in this room that were there December 31st, think how good you felt. It's just a matter of time. Trust me on that. I've done this long enough to be able to tell you this with confidence and come face you every week. I wouldn't be able to do that unless. So it's beautiful. Look at this view. It's a great view, right? That's probably too sunny. Can't even tell you're in Vegas if you could see it, right? It's a freaking golf course. It's nice. Thanks again, guys. We're going to do it again next week. Remember, have your questions and stick to 0.25, 0.50, 0.75, 1%, 1.25. Love you guys.